Well, thank you all for being here. It's really special. It's an honor to have brought out KillJoy and Jess Snow. It's a special exhibition for me as well because they're members of Just Seeds as well as me, and we have other honorary members of Just Seeds here as well. You guys gonna wave? Sayare, Sarah. So you know that's pretty exciting. I think you'll find in the exhibition a lot of really relevant content and a way to like think about and process like our world, and I think in like exciting new ways that make us approach in a different way, and I think that's the gift that artists bring, is this gift to allow us to see through their universe, you know. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'm gonna let them introduce themselves because I feel like it's gonna be a part of their artist talks. But thank you all for coming out, and I really hope you enjoy it. The process, a little bit of the process is we're gonna do the artist talks in here so that we can be comfortable and see the work. And then we're gonna walk over to the gallery after the talk. We can get some beverages, things like that. And then Jess is gonna read poetry. So, and we can have a question and a Q&A over while looking at the work. So, thank you.
Hi everybody. I am KillJoy. I also go by my birth name, Joy. And introductions, I actually tend to keep things very vague on purpose, but I'll introduce a little of myself through my presentation. I have 15 minutes.
Yeah, but we can be easy.
Okay, I can modify these. This is a presentation now meant for 15 minutes or usually an hour. So. I like to start with this because I had practiced making these little GIFs at the beginning of the pandemic. I like to explore themes of philosophy, social and environmental politics. And I think I'm going to just press space and that should move it along. Okay, so as I said, I usually like to keep information about myself very vague, but as I started giving these presentations to universities, I saw that when people know a little bit about the artist, they can relate more to what they're saying, so I decided to put some personal information. These are my parents and myself. My parents are from the archipelago known as the Philippines. I have a very close relationship with my mom and the women in my family, and I feel really inspired by that and how I live my daily life. I include these photos of the Philippines because in my artist bio, I don't list where I've gone to school, accomplishments, or awards, or anything. What I like to say is that my work, as well as myself, sits at the intersection of where jungle meets desert. So my family is from the Philippines. That went too fast. Which is known for its paradise beaches, but the people there don't usually get to experience that. I was raised in West Texas in the desert. This is what it looks like, Odessa, very flat. 90% sky. And I feel like that's important to include because what I think a lot about are the social politics of the Philippines and how they relate to where I grew up, which is West Texas, which is known for its oil, extraction of the land. And so I just think being from places that are constantly exploited for their natural resources has informed a lot about what I make work about. I'm gonna breeze through these because this explains the aesthetic of my practice. I am trained in printmaking. And I got really into woodcut and lino cut when I was living in Mexico. So very inspired by Mexican culture, Mexican politics, the revolution that took place in Mexico, all of those things have informed my work as well. These are woodcuts. Part of my practice is that I don't like to take myself too seriously, so I like to do woodcuts, but it's not really important to me that they're editioned or in a gallery. That's what I find joy in is making work and then making it public and available and not for cost. So I'll carve these images. That's a market in Mexico City. And then I'll just paste them around the street. And it's my favorite way to get to know a city, and it's my favorite way to hang out with people. Colombia, I've been really fortunate to be able to do these paste ups in Latin America and throughout Asia. Paste up world. This is the first time I pasted up and it started hailing in the middle of it, so I wanted to show the hail on the paste up roller. So I think what I really like about paste up too is that because I did go to school for printmaking, there's a process called chinkole, which is basically fancy collage. And to me, paste up is collage, but on a larger scale, and it's really fun and playful, and that's what's really important to me in my art practice. I think there's a lot of suffering in the world. I don't need to suffer in my art practice. I like to invite a lot of play into my art practice and into my life. This was a university in Minnesota. Sometimes I'll host these giant paste up sessions. Here we're talking about the pipelines that run through Minnesota. Apparently I got a picture of this. It's Minnesota, so I got a picture of this months later, and it was surviving a Minnesota winter. The snow was 3 feet high. So I made really good paste that day. So much of my work is also in support and in solidarity of direct action groups in the Philippines. Life there is not easy. It's easy for tourists to go there and enjoy the beaches and the hospitality of Filipinos, but life for the majority of Filipinos is not easy. So what you're going to see, I think will follow images in support of groups in the Philippines. This is the jeepney, what the Philippines is famous for. I don't think I could go into explaining what every campaign is about, because this is 15 minutes and I'm already down to 9. But in the gallery of questions, I'm definitely happy to answer those. I really enjoy doing big build-outs, so this was a big build-out. I'll explain this one because I'm pretty proud of this one. We knocked it out in 6 hours, right before we learned the new regime that was taking over the Philippines. So we knew that there was already an action plan for the consulate the next day, and at 6 p.m. I just texted my friends and asked who was down to come paint. And so we marched this down to the consulate the next day. And my house has become this center for art build-outs and puppets. I'm also really into puppets. And I wanted to share this video because it's just, even though we're talking about difficult things, always like coming together, and especially my house just tends to be this hub. There's so many people I've never even been to their houses. And making work together softens the blows, the daily blows that sometimes the world can deliver. This was from a build out in the Philippines. Last year I was there for 3 months. In the Philippines, a lot of direct action groups are in support of the peasant farmers that experiencing the same thing that farmers here in the US experience in Latin America, just working the land and not having rights to it. Oh, I think this is another video of the build out. One of the people that build out is the one who sang this song. So I'm really used to making art in a rapid turnaround. So today was pretty wild, but not unlike what I'm used to. And I think next will follow just a series of posters that I've done to support groups. Oh no, okay, no, this is talking about my love for volcanoes. I really love volcanoes. You'll see some of my volcano prints in the gallery. I love the raw power of volcanoes. I find them to be one of the most powerful entities in the world. They also very much represent revolution and transformation to me. So I've had the pleasure to visit a few volcano sites, and I put them into carvings. These ones are in Hawaii and Philippines. These ones you'll see in the gallery. This is Haleakala in Hawaii, Colima in Mexico. What would be Crater Lake, Mount Mansama if it were a thing, my envisioning of it, and Taal in Philippines. These are posters that I've done for actions in the Philippines. I just don't feel like I could explain them. I'm down pretty short now. You'll see a lot of these actually in the gallery. The middle one is from a picture of a paste up, not the actual poster. These ones are, I get stuck on explaining what each of these are, so we'll just chat in the gallery if you're interested. More build outs. This one I made digitally, it's for a billboard. This series, I do like to talk about this one. They were carved to be intended as 3-inch stamps. I worked with a group who does workshops with formerly incarcerated youth, and the workshops center around poetry, writing poetry for a world without prisons. So based on what the youth talked about, I made these 3-inch stamps that would be used in a workshop teaching people about abolition. And then I turned them into posters and fleshed them out with other imagery. But so much of what the youth poetry focused on was being outside, was being in nature, and was growing things. There was so much about growing things, and I just thought it was so beautiful that youth who had experienced things that I just are such atrocious things, what they want to focus on is bringing life and growing things. I call it safe sleep. I just wanted to talk about that youth should be free to be kids, not reprimanded for making mistakes. I wanted the kid to have his foot hanging off the bed, which to me is a really vulnerable thing, to have your feet outside of the covers. So I wanted to explain this series a little bit. So moving into my mural work, with murals, my philosophy has, like some of my posters kind of tackle harder topics. With my murals, my philosophy for public art has always been to create healing spaces. I get to leave the spaces when I'm done with it, so even if I'm angry about issues, I don't want to leave an angry space that people then have to interact with, whether they like it or not. So I like to talk instead about how we can move about in the world and what kind of future we can move into. Oh, I mean, I also like to have fun and goof around. I knocked that one out. I knocked these ones out. These are like day jammers. This is a mural on the border. I'm visiting from Houston, Texas, and I was raised in Texas. This is in El Paso. A university there invited me to paint this mural. It's about the length of 3/4 of a football field. Their specification was that I just not talk about politics. And it's like, okay, I don't know if you understand my work, but fair enough. I don't want to leave anything angry, so I did still talk about the border and these rabbits in cages and these barbed wire, and it's really interesting because they liked the cactus part, but they didn't like the rabbits in cages part visually to look at, and I just found that really interesting. Not the university. The people who were very much like, don't paint politics, liked the cactus. Not these folks are very sweet. But they just obviously didn't like the bunnies in cages, and I just thought that was interesting that that's happening in El Paso, that's a reality there. It doesn't have to be the reality there. This is a mural I painted in Costa Rica. They wanted me to, it's Costa Rica, and they wanted me to talk about all the flora and fauna in the botanical garden. It was a center, and it's Costa Rica, so it was a lot to add. But this I'm actually talking about how water will be a scarce resource in the future, and I was talking about it in a place like Costa Rica that gets so much rainfall. Some examples of murals. Another mural, they turned down my previous idea, said it was too political. What it said was clean food and water for all, and they thought that was too political. So I painted this on Thanksgiving. I'm in Houston, they love astronaut stuff, so I painted a planet and colonized it. They did not invite me back. A painting I did about similarities, especially within indigenous cultures between Philippines and Mexico. Because I lived in Mexico for 5 years, I was able to understand more deeply the similarities that we share, that there are indigenous customs and words that exist in the Philippines and vice versa. This structure, known as a palapa, which is common to the Mexican coast, is actually a structure brought over from the Philippines. Palapa meaning palm in Tagalog. Well, not Tagalog, in one of the languages in the Philippines. All of the fruits that were brought over during the Manila Galleon, which was the trade route between Philippines and Mexico. So many of these things that are staples to the Mexican diet, mango, tamarind, coconut, are all from Asia by way of the Manila Galleons. So ending on my newfound venture, which is puppet land. My practice now is printmaking, murals, and puppets. I've wanted to do big puppets for 10 years and am now finally able to do it. This is an installation in Houston. I got my friends to build animatronics for the puppets, so at 5 p.m. the puppets come to life and they move until midnight. This is the first window. This window is called creation. So an earth deity talking about how we're all from the earth, we're all these amazing creatures that are actually stardust, and we don't have to be living in a society that is structured in such an oppressive way. This is the current window, short for the current political solution. In particular, what I'm talking about is fossil fuel industry through by way of imagery of Filipino folklore and the lived Filipino experience. So talking about the indigenous people who live on the rivers that are near US bases in the Philippines. When there's a US base that's in the Philippines, they build out a pipeline structure so that they can get power to their base, and they need a lot of power, of course ruining all of the land and the people and flora and fauna that depend on the land and rivers around the bases. Oh, funny story. These Topo Chico bottles with the dead fish, I wanted to add that last minute, and we just had all these Topo Chicos, so everybody that was helping with the build out, I was making them drink the Topo Chicos so that we could get this. So everybody was like gassy and helping me make puppets. And then the last window, which is the solution window. I don't like to provide a problem without us also a solution. So for this, snakes were repeated throughout the windows, and here, this is the burning of the snakes. They stand for pipelines. in the Philippines on rice terraces that are very secluded to get rid of their garbage. They don't just have a landfill they throw it into. So what they do is they select a part of the rice terrace that needs to be rejuvenated, and they burn their trash there, and then the land is rejuvenated and they're rid of their trash. So these snakes are burning in parts that need to be rejuvenated. And I think just a little bit of their movement. It's just, you can't really appreciate the animatronics like in a video, but I wanted to show a little bit of what it's like in person. And the solution window very much talking about indigenous, elder-led, community-led based solutions. I think that might be it. If I can get to the last slide. That's probably it. That's probably why there's nothing. That's it. Okay, I'm done. Thank you for listening to my chat. Thank you to Thea for bringing Jess and I out here. We have loved it so much, and it's been so special for us two to be here with you and building this installation. So I will now pass it over to Jess, and thank you again.
I'm gonna figure out how to connect this.
Oh.
My art is not as playful as Joy's, but spending time with Joy helps me realize that maybe there's another world where you can be playful as well. This talk is usually longer. Hopefully it will work. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Thea, for bringing us out. I also start my artist talk with a photo of myself drawing Sailor Moon as a kid in China, and then like some of the murals that I'm painting now. But I'm just gonna talk a little bit about like how my work has evolved over time, and how my artistic practice and my philosophy and politics have like shifted over time, and kind of my background. But I really love this Adrienne Maree Brown quote that talks about how movements move at the speed of relationships, and relationships move at the speed of trust. And I would just add that trust moves at the speed of imagination. And I really feel like a lot of my work is possible because of the relationships and friendships that I've built with people, oftentimes people who come from different backgrounds and identities as me, and the coalitions that we build together. So before my artist practice shifted for the last like 10 years or so, I've been making a lot of murals and community-based murals, and also public art and posters for social movements. And the most recent, this is a little bit out of order, but like these are some examples of some of the art that I've made. And I'm also a member of Just Seeds, and we have a couple of Just Seeds members here, so shout out to Just Seeds. And they involve, they sometimes involve working directly with young communities of color. For example, this one was created with high school students in Philadelphia, and was created through multiple workshops with them, and it features a poem that they wrote that says, "The coming years will be hard, but the future is worth the fight. Just hold on, and you will see." And these are portraits that some of the youth provided of her family members and elders, and it's a mural in Philadelphia. And kind of throughout the end of I guess like that series of work, I created this in collaboration with my friend Gabrielle Kutipa Zorn, who's a scholar who studies how like the Israeli apartheid wall has affected crops and connects that to Latin America. So his work, it talks about the threads of solidarity between Central America and Palestine, and this mural is featured in the exhibit, really small, and then Amira on the right with the Palestinian sunbird. She's my friend who's an organizer based in the South, and her poetry is featured on the kites in the exhibit. And this mural was kind of my the process of creating this mural with my friend was kind of my introduction into Palestine organizing and like learning about what's been happening there, which is also explored in the exhibit. And I think kind of like throughout the process of making a really large body of movement art and community murals, I kind of got really burnt out, and I was trying to figure out what is my own voice in all of this. Obviously, my voice is reflected in the collective struggles and the ideas of liberation that this work contains. But I felt like I was losing my sense of play, and I was losing some of the dreams and the ways that art can heal me as like an individual person, because I felt like for a long time my art was in service of collective healing. And so I guess I wanted to just like read a little bit from the speech that I gave at this dedication of this mural to Ruth Wilson Gilmore, which I kind of feel like was the culmination of a lot of years of doing really large public art projects, but really the moment where I realized I felt really burnt out, and I needed to like change something. And I really loved this mural. There was like a really beautiful design process that involved conversations with scholars of Ruthie's work, and also like herself and about her history. And it's a two-sided mural. On this wall, it features her mother and her father in these wheat pastes that kind of go into the sky, and her father is a union labor organizer. And this mural was kind of envisioned with New Haven abolitionist community that was doing a reading group around her work, and it also features her brother, who was a member of the Panthers, and this church that she grew up in, and also these endangered species of plants that grow in New Haven. And this is kind of her father holding her as a younger child. And we had a really beautiful mural unveiling. It gave a lot of hope, but I just wanted to share part of the speech that I wrote, where it kind of signaled like a change in my work. So when I felt lost and most burned out and stuck in a spiral, I went inside the bookstore and let my brain rest and reached for my heart space. And as I sat there, I saw my burnt out self crumble, the one that did not know how to properly take care of myself sustainably, and along with it the old world. And I found within me the vision of abolition that Ruthie dedicated her life to. There it was, shining bright as a summer day. It held me like a dawnlit sky and moved through me like desert wind, cradling the collective grief that took over my body until the spiral subsided. Ruthie's vision is ancient. It is a fire that was started by generations of freedom fighters before her and will be continued by the generations ahead of us. This vision guided me to finish the mural. I think art, like revolution, is only possible when we let our minds rest and allow ourselves to sit in the spaciousness of the human heart. I hope as we move forward with the enormous moment that this historic moment calls for, that this mural can help us feel, to expand our capacity for solidarity, and after a beautiful night's rest, to keep going as if each stroke of this mural is a prayer that can live forever, as if Palestine can be free, as if abolition is possible within our lifetime, as if solidarity is a verb that feels like love, as if love was a fire burning generation after generation that is impossible to kill, as if freedom, like Ruthie reminds us, can be made out of the small moments we already have, shared between ally to ally, lover to friend, elder to child, teacher to student, present and future. This mural is a map back to our collective heart space. Now it is yours. May we leave today with a new fire restored in our hearts to find our place in the collective struggle and move as if liberation was not so distant, but already on its way.
Yeah.
So, thank you. So really happy about this mural, and it just also meant a lot to Ruthie, and it kind of started a cute friendship between us. And I'm happy about this body of work too. But I think it kind of began to shift into I guess the art that I hope to make next, which is art which is releasing a poetry book, because I've been afraid to publish my poems for like a very long time, and also just finding the personal in the political again, because sometimes I feel like I lost that, because I'm feeling like I had to always be in service to all the social movements of this world, when like the suffering of this world feels never ending. But I realized that in order to be most in service, we have to care for ourselves. So I kind of started to create a body of work, mostly through films and poetry that explores that. And yeah, so I guess I also just wanted to talk a little bit about this mural that was created in Chinatown, and how kind of during the anti-Asian violence that was happening in 2021, like some of the projects that I created in response to this, and also the community and the relationships that were formed as a result of that. So I've learned recently a lot about how anti-Asian violence started with the existence of the United States, and this is something that I was never taught in school, like the Chinese Exclusion Act and Japanese internment, and just all the atrocities that the U.S. empire continues to commit. And then I kind of was asking myself the question about, like, the goal of ending anti-Asian violence can't be to just belong within the U.S., because the U.S. is a racist state, and I wanted to make art that went beyond just belonging in the U.S., because I think when we look at a lot of the art that is being made around anti-Asian violence, it kind of is focusing on representation and also kind of creates situations where more police is used as a way to keep communities safe. And I think the root of that is very like anti-Black, and I don't think that is the answer. So I started creating these abolitionist posters and video installations that explore kind of these utopian ideas of what it could be like in a future where the Asian community and also all communities of color learn how to keep each other safe without depending on the police. And then the result of that became these installations, and then this mural project created in collaboration with a community called Wild Project in Chinatown, that is a youth arts activism, anti-gentrification group that kind of comes out of the longest operating store in Manhattan, Chinatown. So I work with the community there, and I led workshops with youth and elders, and we created this design based on those those photographs and workshops of this mural that we painted through a process of an entire week, or like 9 days in New York City during the summer, and it was a really beautiful collaboration where I formed a lot of relationships and friendships with the youth, and it just brought a lot of community together. And this mural is slowly becoming this augmented reality component where people can visit the mural and use their phone, and parts of the mural will come to life, and then ambient meditations and sounds will begin to play, and we'll learn about Chinatown history. We did a lot of workshops with Chinatown elders and community members about what their visions of safety and healing looks like in the future. So some of these narrations will play, and then the mural has an alleyway in the middle, and we'll see kind of the buildings transform into birds, and then the kind of the creative culture of Chinatown, and then the seeds will, and then you can take some of the seeds and like the wishes on the mural, and then you can plant them in the earth, and they will grow into the indigenous plants of Lenape Hokkien, which is also known as Manhattan, and slowly take over the sky through augmented reality. And this became kind of a very long project that was very community informed, but hasn't finished yet. And probably because, same reason as before, I also got really burnt out, and I've just been finding a really hard time to just focus and finish that project when what's currently happening right now with Palestine just has been demanding my full attention. And so this project is currently unfinished, but hopefully I will finish it eventually. And I wanted, so as a result of all of that, some of the work I wanted to, that has been interesting me to create is to kind of move beyond identity politics as an Asian diasporic person, and kind of disown the idea of having to belong to the US, even though I just got my citizenship a year ago, but realizing just because I have the privilege of citizenship, it doesn't mean that I can't betray the values of the US, and also so I want to create these public art installations where I create these multiple choice questions, kind of reminiscent of like how Asians and immigrants have been a part of the model minority, and we have to get really good test scores and to ask them questions like this, which you will see at the exhibit. And yeah, so I'm really excited for what some of the more text-based projects can bring, and what it would mean to explore wellness and burnout culture, and also trash talk the US, and hopefully have people think about the ways that being a part of the US means we are in what my friend Alan calls a non-consensual performance contract with the state. And what it would mean to unlearn that contract and betray those contracts. And maybe that would mean finding our souls, our childhood, our agency, and our pleasure and play back. So I just wanted to end this on just a short clip from one of my narrative films. So after doing a lot of social movement art, I decided to go back to film school, and I just finished, I just graduated this year, and I wanted to show you part of my thesis film, which has the Chinatown mural as a part of it, and it explores a relationship between two queer Asian femmes. One of them is like a second generation Filipino, and then the other person is a first gen Chinese immigrant, and it explores kind of like what a Pan-Asian solidarity could look like, and how these two characters can resolve tension after a moment of anti-Asian violence. So I just wanted to end with like the short clip from this film, but here's some behind the scenes of shooting. It was a hard project, but I learned a lot, and I'm really excited to retire from short films and to go into narrative feature films, because I made like 5 shorts, and I'm just like really tired of shorts. So I'll just play you a short clip from this film. Thank you for having me. Okay, it's muted.
这儿是我的家。
window gets graffitied and there's a hole in it, and it has the words "Go Home" on it, and then through mutual aid and community from the main character's partner, Zia, who's the Filipino activist artist, she gets her friends together to fix the window. So this is the scene of the window fixed, and the film is done. And she also convinces her to come visit the mural, which she feels like will bring healing. So yeah, I wanted to explore how art and mutual aid and the work that we make as like social movement artists can be really healing on the person-to-person level, which I feel like sometimes we lose when we see just like the big mural, and we forget about who are the people behind the work and what is like the people, like the relationships and the person-to-person healing it can have, and the conversations and friendships that come after, and how like organizers and artists, we all have moments of tension, but we don't have to resort to like punishing each other or disposing of each other. And we can find abolitionist ways of moving through conflict and still arriving at healing, which is what I wanted to explore in this film, and what I hope to also continue to explore in the future films that I make. So thank you so much.